Okay, this is Jimmy Jive, and you're listening to Motor City Rock Talk. Today, my guest is a member of a Detroit country rock band. A little bit more country than rock, but they do some rock stuff too. The band is called Taylor Tucky, and today we'll be talking to the lead guitarist, Marc Davis. How you doing today, bud?
Doing real good, Jim. Thank you for having me.
All right, let's start out with a little background. Tell me where you're from originally and basically what got you into music, specifically guitar.
Sure. Well, I've been born in Oak Park. In third grade, moved to West Bloomfield and been pretty much living there ever since. What got me into music, I can tell you specifically, at age 13, my parents took me and one of my brothers to see Kiss. Cobo Hall. And we're talking 1975 when they recorded Kiss Alive. So
cool.
On my 13-year-old mind, that left an imprint that has never left. But it was 4 years after that I finally picked up the guitar, that the seed was planted. But when Van Halen 1 came out, and I remember hearing all those songs and Eruption, I said, you know what, if I don't start now, and at this point I'm 17, now or never. And I read in some article that Frank Zappa started playing guitar at 17, and I said, I got to start now. And from that, I've never looked back since that day.
Very cool. Did you take lessons at all, or are you self-taught?
I took lessons from a buddy for a while, about a year, and then I took lessons after that for another year. And at that point, I've just been kind of figuring it out on my own. I would consider myself more self-taught than anything else, really.
Okay. It's interesting that, you start out saying your big influence, or one of your big influences, of course, was Kiss, and then Van Halen. Were you at that time playing rock music? Were you playing in rock groups or fiddling around with that?
No, I didn't. From the time I started playing guitar to the time I joined a band was literally decades in between. I mean, I've probably spent, like I said, decades practicing, and I jam with friends every now and then, but I always wanted to be in a band, but I never thought, I didn't know how to do so, or didn't think that I was good enough. And the reality was that all it really took was the effort, which I didn't understand back then. You know the deal. If we could go back and do what we know now, back then.
Are you pretty much saying that Taylor Tucky is the first band or real band you've been in? Is that true?
I was in a few other bands before, but I actually play in two bands. One is called St. John Smith, and the other is Taylor Tucky. I've been with both 15 years. So the other things I did before were small time compared to what I'm doing now.
And was that other band, what was the name of the other band you said besides Taylor Tucky?
The other band is called St. John Smith, and that is what I call a variety band. Anything from current classic, where Taylor Tucky's focus is strictly modern country.
Okay, but is that band also like country also?
St. John Smith is definitely a mix. It's, like I said, anything from the current music of today to classic rock, where Taylor Tucky is strictly modern country.
Oh, okay. Now, coming from your roots of Van Halen and Kiss and all that, what got you into country music? Was your family into it? Were you, around it as a child? How did you get into wanting to play country music?
Well, it's actually interesting. Our St. John Smith existed first, and our original lead singer in St. John Smith didn't want to play as much as the rest of us because we're all total music junkies and all we want to do is play. So our band leader wisely decided that if he didn't want to bring in a separate singer and dilute what we had, and he knew that we all wanted to play a lot, and if we were playing less to accommodate our singer, that chances are some of us would join other bands, and then scheduling conflicts would happen. So he wisely came up with the idea of, hey, we'll keep the same nucleus of the band, the same members, bring in a male singer, and that's when Taylor Tucky was formed. And because of that, it's the same band with a different singer, so we just play twice as much now, but the family stays intact. So to answer your question, guitar players like Brad Paisley and Vince Gill are monster players, but I never grew up knowing their music. I've been introduced to their music after the fact.
Who would you say was your biggest country music inspiration? Would it have been those two, or anybody older than that?
You know what? I know the legends, whether it's Johnny Cash or Waylon Jennings, but I can't say that I grew up with that music or appreciated it back then because I just didn't. When I think of the modern country player that I'm most familiar with and own more of their music, it's absolutely Brad Paisley. He's like the Van Halen of country music. Insane chops and great songwriting. Great singing. He's the package.
Now, are you a songwriter too, as far as Taylor Tucky, or are you just a sideman guitar player?
You know what? I've dabbled in songwriting on my own, but for Taylor Tucky, I'm strictly guitar.
So who
And
does
actually,
the majority of the writing then?
The writing is done by band leader Chris Whiskey, guitar player, and Harry Zaremba, vocalist.
The other thing is, well, I saw you guys perform. It's been a couple of years now, back at a thing in Bradford. You guys were like really good. I mean, great stage presence, great look. The people were digging it. And you were doing a variety of your original material and a few covers. And one of the covers that you did, you also put on your album there, was Heart Tune, Straight On. What was the reasoning behind that? I mean, what connection would that have had to country, or you guys just dig that song?
It's a great question because our singer Perry really wanted to do that song, and I love Heart. I love the song. In my mind, it didn't fit with the album, but at a certain point, we said, you know what? We recorded it, we liked our version, and we put it on.
How has that gone over with your fan base as far as in connection to the other songs that you guys do, whether they be covers or the originals from that album?
You know what? The original songs that we play go over very well. Interesting that you bring that song up in particular because we don't play it live anymore. We dabbled with it in the beginning and it just didn't seem to fit with the rest of our presentation. But we play many of the songs from the album live in every show.
Right.
And it is amazing how well they go over. And I base it off of people dancing. And
Right.
That's the key.
Yeah, because when I saw you did do that song, so, and it was probably 2-3 years ago. So you dropped it because it wasn't cohesive with what the people expected of you as far as your performance live and your stage setup, or what?
Right. Let's face it. Heart is an awesome band.
Right.
They're definitely not country.
Yeah.
So it just didn't make sense.
Well, I can't remember, but I could have sworn you did some other country covers as far as like almost country rock. Did you do any Leonard Skinner or any other the southern type rock, country rock, I should say?
On the CD, the only cover song is the Heart song. Everything else is original. We typically close our live shows with Sweet Home Alabama because it's just a crowd favorite.
Right.
And it kind of fits in with the genre.
Oh, sure, of course. Now, speaking of that album came out in 2019. Have you guys been working on a follow-up to that, or have you been too busy?
We play a lot between both bands, and the goal is to record something else, but it's not there yet.
Do you have some songs ready to go? You just haven't had time to do that, or you haven't?
There are a few, but it's like I say, it's not. When it's ready, you'll know. The world will know, but
Okay.
it's not there yet. So
I get you.
I don't want to tease something that's too far down the road.
No problem. I was just wondering because I knew it had been 4 or 5 years since that one came out, and it is a tremendous album. It's really well done. Where did you record that album?
We recorded that. Let's put it this way: the final mastering and final recordings were done in Pearl Studio in Canton, and they did a phenomenal job with it. The CD sounds. The quality of the recording, the quality of how it was recorded and mixed, produced, it's as professional as any professional artist out there. I'm very proud of it.
But where was it actually recorded?
I am trying to remember the name of the studio, and I'm slightly blanking. I know I'll give a shout out to Chuck Alkazian at Pearl Studio for doing the heavy lifting. I'm having a mental block right now.
I understand. Do you remember approximately how long it took you to record the album?
You know what, we did most of the rhythm tracks together live, so it was actually pretty quick. We recorded guitars, bass, drums in one shot. The drummer went in, I think may have done a little bit of background, fill stuff.
Right.
I did my guitar lead work separately, and then the vocals, of course, separately. But it was a relatively quick process because we were prepared.
Right, you have to be because it's so expensive going into the studio and all that and doing that. How did you guys come up with the name Taylor Tucky? Is there some significance? Is that some kind of a joke? What's the backing? If anything?
We're always asked about that, and our original lead singer lived in Taylor, and he came up with the name. And we did a little digging around, and where the name really came from, whether he knew it or not, is that during the auto industry, boom in the 30s and 40s, when people were coming up to Michigan, for Henry Ford's $5 a day salary, a lot of these transplants from the southern states would come up, of course, from Kentucky and these other areas, and they moved into Taylor, and they came up with the name. That's where the name Taylor Tucky came from. It was not, they used it like amongst themselves.
Right.
It's like a term of endearment.
I get it. Okay. Have you did you ever have any backlash or anything as far as that, thinking that people were maybe thinking you were placing a joke or something against Taylor?
You know what? A little bit of that, but mostly what we have, and it happens at every show, is someone comes up and says, "Who's from Taylor in your band?" Or "How'd you come up with the name?" We're always asked that. It's rare that someone takes it as an insult, because it's almost like a point of pride.
But I was just curious on that, because, you're naming a specific town and you're talking about a specific thing. But it's real interesting that ties in with the auto industry. I didn't know that, but that's real interesting. And you tell that to people also when they ask that?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're certainly not trying to offend anyone.
Right. No, I wouldn't think you were. I was just wondering if you ever got any flack on that. Now, you say you guys are real busy between the two bands. Where are some of the places that you guys play? Is it mostly down the river or everywhere?
It's really all over. Taylor Tucky, St. John Smith has set bars we play at, plus other things. Taylor Tucky, the busiest time for us is spring and summer. We do a lot of private parties, corporate events. We do some bar gigs for sure. A lot of the stuff are private parties, whether it's weddings. We've done quite a few, which I was amazed at. I'm thinking, who's hiring a modern country band for a wedding? But the farther north you go, you realize that's the rock music of this generation.
Right, that's true.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever, or have you guys played out of state at all, gone to Ohio or Indiana, that kind of thing?
We've played in Indiana before. We played in Ohio. The biggest show that Taylor Tucky has done, and we've done this twice, is it was in West Virginia. We played at the International Boy and Girl Scouts Convention. We played in front of probably 10,000 people, which was a highlight that I will never, ever forget.
Anything down, being, country style band, anything down near Nashville? Because I know a lot of people that have been moved down, rock musicians we like, that have moved to Nashville because the scene is so happening there, not just with country music now, but with rock and all sorts of different genres. Have you guys thought to venture down there? Any plans of that?
We've talked about it. I would love to, and it's interesting you mentioned that, because last year for my birthday, my wife and I went down to Nashville. We'd never been there. And in my mind, what I was thinking is that, okay, we're going to walk along Music Row, all these hundreds of bars, and every band is going to have a Brad Paisley type of player, and everyone is going to be... And the reality was, without being arrogant, I go, we're better than a lot of these bands. And I don't say that being arrogant. Interesting, and a lot of them were just playing standard rock and roll stuff, which is fine and great, but I know that we could go down and do a great job and really entertain the crowd. So it is on the list of things to do, and hopefully we get to do it this summer.
Yeah, because as you say, I had heard from different people that lived down there and moved down there that was part of the draw, that it wasn't just country. You could see country acts, obviously, there also, and upcoming groups, but there was a good mix of everything: rockabilly, rock, jazz, blues, whatever, and it was always a party going on. And of course, with all that happening and all the bars they have, of course some of it's going to be, like you say, not always the upper echelon or anything like that. But yeah, I think you guys need to get down there. While it's hot. You say that you guys have been together in one form or another with the both bands for 15 years. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's amazing to me, because, not that I'm comparing myself to other bands, but a typical, let's face it, most bands don't last that long.
Yeah, that's why I was saying.
Don't.
So you guys must get along pretty darn well. To be able to put
we're
that
very
together.
fortunate. Myself, our drummer Linnell Lewis, and our band leader and guitar Chris Witzke, the three of us have been together for 15 years. That's like unheard of,
It is.
Band.
So what took you so long to record the album? Was it just that you were busy playing so much, or you just didn't have the funds?
More of just getting the time, because during the busy months, we'll play 10, 15 shows in a month, and we all have day jobs, so...
Yeah, I guess you have to.
Right, that pesky day job, how it is.
Yeah. That's why you need to get down to Nashville, get yourself established down there, and you can quit your day job and move down. Do you guys play any? I know you mentioned playing a lot in the spring and summer and corporate parties and private parties. Do you do any of the festivals? Like Taylor has a festival every year, Allen Park.
We do a lot of those types of shows as well.
You do those too?
The concert in the park venues, we do, absolutely. Last year we played, Shane Park, downtown Birmingham.
Oh, wow.
But we've done a lot more than that. That one just jumped out. I just remember specifically because it was one of those 100-degree days, but it's always fun playing outside. I love it.
Yeah, do you ever have any issues with that as far as the sound? Do you have a sound man that helps control that, or do you all pretty much take care of it yourself?
We played so long together as a unit that when we play live, whether it's outside, inside, a new venue, a strange venue, or a bar we've played at forever, we all basically know where to set our gear, where to set the volumes, on our effects pedals. We're a well-oiled machine at this point, so barring rain,
Yeah.
We set up professional, we perform, we break down. No one is, doing crazy things, getting drunk and embarrassing anyone, because the reality is, as fun as it is playing in a band, it's a professional business, and that's what separates us, because we play so often, because we are professional.
Definitely that, and that does set you apart as far as that. Are there any videos of you guys out there? On YouTube or anything that people can check out from any of these
I have
shows?
no doubt there are, but
none that you guys have done yourselves.
There's some. If you go to TaylorTucky.com, I'm sure there's some posted videos there, but I am so computer illiterate that I don't even try to post things like that. I am considering that my day job is selling software. As computer illiterate can be, so I'm not on Facebook posting on social media. Here's a clip of last week's show, even though I should learn how to do that. I'm guilty as charged of not.
Yeah, that's funny, like you said, telling the software and all that, and it's automotive related. It's not even music related.
No.
Now, you say you guys have been together 15 years. Are the rest of the guys in the band all from the same area? You guys live in the same general area? And how often do you rehearse anymore, or do you need to rehearse as far as what you're doing?
As far as question one, we're from, I'm in West Bloomfield. Our drummer lives in Oak Park. Our bass player is Rochester. Our singer's in Romulus. And Clausen is our other guitar player. As far as rehearsing, we don't really rehearse that much. When we want to learn a new, group of songs, that's when we get together to rehearse, because otherwise we're playing so often that it's not required to rehearse. But every year during this time of the year is a rule when we intentionally take a bit of a lull, because there's no glory in moving equipment in freezing cold weather in February and January. So we'll retool and add some songs to the set to keep it fresh for the audience and for us.
Right. Like you said, it's just too cold to do that. Unless the money is right?
Well, no one gets paid to rehearse, of course.
No, I know, but I'm talking about move gear for the gig.
Right.
Yeah, if the money's right, you'll do it no matter how cold and rainy it is.
Absolutely. And and believe me, we're still playing, January, February, March. Right. Come April and May, that's when we're playing 10 shows a month, 15 shows a month, and it just ramps up. And I love it, because there's just nothing more fun than playing and seeing the reaction of people, and seeing people dancing. That's its own payoff. The money's a bonus. I take that. I'm buying a guitar with it. I'm not paying the water bill with the money I earn. That's fun money. But the real payoff is getting to play live in front of people.
Speaking of gear, what kind of equipment do you use as far as guitars and amps yourself?
I have an Old Faithful amp that I've used for a decade. It's a 1974 Fender Deluxe Reverb, the classic amplifier. And the great thing about it is that I turn it on and it works, and it goes back in the trailer after the show. Get to the next show, I turn it on and it works, and it's reliable, a great clean sound. As far as guitars, I've bounced around over the years, but for the last 3 years I've settled on Paul Reed Smith single cuts, which are basically their version of a Gibson Les Paul. I played Les Pauls for years, loved them, but I was always looking to see, is there something better? And for me, the PRS single cut is the best guitar I've ever played.
The other thing is, being a country group, and obviously not too much guitars, most of the country acts, major acts or whatever, throughout the years all use Peavey. Is anybody in your band ever use Peavey, or does anybody use Peavey as far as that?
I own a Classic 30, which is a great amplifier, and I stopped using it because it wasn't reliable. I would sometimes just have these issues, and I've got a great hack, but he would do his magic, and sometimes it would still just not behave. And I've learned a long time ago, if you have a piece of gear that's not reliable, I don't care how good it is,
right,
who makes it, or what the cost is, you can't use it.
No, you're absolutely right, because that's the last thing you want to do is get out there with something that's going to break down in the middle of the show or whatever. Does your bass player use, what does your bass player use as far as that? Because I was a bass player for a long time, and I used a big PV amp, and the reason for it was you could throw that thing down the stairs. It would always bounce back and seem to work. I never had any issues with it, and it was affordable. Does your bass player by any chance use PV?
He uses Ampeg.
Oh, okay. The real deal, okay.
But PV is, let's face it, they're from Mississippi, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Hartley PV, and they make great gear. There's no question about that. But
been around forever, too.
Right. You know what? Hartley PV was making Eddie Van Halen's guitars and his amps. And I can guarantee you Eddie Van Halen was not using any gear that was not what he considered the best that he could find.
Oh, absolutely. Of course, his was all custom made and all that, but still, he had to go to them to do it. And he must have had trust in their electronics and your whole thing as far as that. Now, do you sing at all in the group? Do you sing backups and all that, or just play guitar?
You know what? I consider myself very fortunate because I don't sing. And what that allows me to do is that I can be more of a showman. I'm not tied down to a microphone. You know, I can just, bop around and just do what I love, focus on what I love doing, which is playing guitar.
But do you sing at all as far as any of the songs? Backups?
No, I'm a horrible singer. And it's more apparent because the vocalists in our band are excellent.
Oh, I know they are. And I couldn't remember if I remember seeing you sing backup. I knew you didn't sing lead and all that, but I thought maybe backup. Well, I got one last question for you before I let you go. And it kind of goes in line with what you say you close your shows with a lot of times, being Sweet Home Alabama from Leonard Skinner. From my experience, whether it was rock, country, or whatever, the biggest song that people always seem to yell for at all the shows that I've gone to or been involved in was always, there again, Leonard Skinner, Freebird.
Absolutely.
You ever get people yelling for you to do Freebird?
I'm not exaggerating. Every show. I mean, literally every show. And the funny thing is that on occasion we'll play it. And we've never, ever rehearsed it as a group, but we've played it individually so we can get on stage. And in the years that Taylor Tucky has been around, I'm going to say maybe we played it 10 times. 15 would be a stretch, or probably 10. But as a lead guitar player, I love playing that song for obvious reasons.
I know, that's what I was going to say. You and the other guitar player, leaves you a lot of room to really jam on it.
Right.
And that's interesting because I assumed you were going to say that people have been yelling that song out and stuff. Because that seemed like that would be Sweet Home Alabama's a great song, but Freebird, being it's that, that big closing song and a lot of guitar, and it would be a great closer too.
I would love to add that permanent set, but that's not going to happen because to do it properly, it takes 8-9 minutes, and it takes the place of 2 or 3 other songs.
Yeah, that's true. Do you normally, when you play, other than like a wedding or corporate party, do you more or less play as a showcase band where it's like one longer set, or do you usually break it up into a couple sets?
When we're doing like a bar gig, typically the bar will say we want 3 1-hour sets or 2 1.5-hour sets. When we're doing like these concerts in the park, we purposely play straight through from beginning to end because we feel more professional, and we just learn from experience. If you're booked from, let's say, 7 to 9:30 during one of these shows, and you take a 15-minute break, you lose the crowd.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the reality is we love play. I don't want to take a break. Once we're rolling, we're like a freight train. I don't want to stop. Your adrenaline's going. The longer you're playing, you're just more into it, and it's just fun. I mean, that's the whole thing about this, Jim. Any true musician, they've got whatever reasons they decided to pick up an instrument. Bottom line is one of them is just the coolest thing in the world is playing music.
If you're not having fun, or if it's work, then don't bop. You're right. You're absolutely right there. Do you have anything specific coming up as far as a bar gig where people can come to see it, or nothing until spring?
April 19 and 20, we're actually playing in the UP.
Oh, wow.
Ojibwa Casino. We played there last year on a Friday and Saturday, and we did really well, and they've invited us back. The next Taylor Tucky show I'm seeing is April 19 and 20, but I realize being an 8-hour road trip is not for the faint of heart.
Right.
But come spring and summer, it absolutely will be more localized. I can promise you that.
You guys, being, Taylor Tucky, ever play at Road Rangers in Taylor? Or is that more rock bar?
Haven't played there yet. We used to play in Taylor more when the original singer was in the band.
Oh, okay.
But ironically, we haven't really played there since.
Well, man, I'm going to let you go. I really appreciate your time sharing your story with us and stuff. I hope you guys can get some new recordings out there. Hopefully come to see you guys play sometime in the spring. I don't get out much in the winter either. So look forward to seeing you guys play. Always a good time. You guys, like I said, country band, but you got a good rock edge to it. Awesome performances. A singer, a bass player, your guitar, your other guitarist, your drummer. Everybody, like you said, is top-notch, professional and stuff. And don't forget to get down to Nashville, because I think you guys need to meet that quest.
I think you are right. We are overdue.
Okay. All right, buddy. Well, you take care and you have a good night. We'll talk soon.
You got it. Thank
All
you,
right.
Jim.
You bet. Bye-bye. Okay, this is Jimmy Jive, and that was Marc Davis, guitarist from the country rock band Taylor Tucky. Have you ever heard of them? They've been around, like he said, around 15 years. They have an album out that's on Spotify and possibly some of the other music streaming sites. Check it out. It's really, really good if you like modern kind of pop country. And with that being said, this is Jimmy Jive, and I'll keep rocking.
Silent time inside them, I'll spend eternity. They see past all the shadows, casting all my dreams. May I stare into them till they believe.